What's up again, guys? Yeah, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Dovahkiin, and welcome back to Project Toyota Rush TRD Sportivo. And before we begin, be sure to hit on the subscribe button for more great videos. My previous vid, the pilot episode, was more of an enthusiast's introduction, though I was able to feature the stuff that I'm gonna be focusing on this episode. That was just skin deep. This time we're gonna go in depth on these OEM TRD parts and compare them with their aftermarket counterparts. Just to be clear, to begin with, I'm not against aftermarket. In fact, my goal here is to showcase the set and encourage my fellow rushers to complete the set as well. The comparisons will be based on what to look for in an aftermarket part, similarities on finishes, materials, etc. Again, there are 7 TRD parts. 1. The front bumper garnish. 2. The fog lamp covers. 3. The side body moldings. 4. The side skirt garnishes. 5. The back door garnish. 6. The TRD Sportivo emblem. And lastly, the rear bumper garnish. On a side note, the material of all of these OEM parts is ABS plastic. Alright, let's start with the front bumper garnish, which is actually more of a big ass chin rather than a garnish, because see this section? This is actually part of the garnish. Thus, if you opted for this TRD part, you are right in thinking that your front clearance will be slightly lower than that of stock, cause the stock bumper only ends somewhere here. By the way, the red line is not paint, it's a glossy rubber trim. Recently, an aftermarket fiberglass version of this and the rear bumper garnish became available, and if I may say, those parts are spot on. Next, the fog lamp covers. So far, I've seen 2 aftermarket versions of this. The first one ends here, and the other one is longer. Take note that the OEM covers wrap around the fenders. And there is a false indentation to highlight the fender line, which is absent on both aftermarket versions. If you're going for the non-TRD fender flares, the shorter one is a more fitting part. Otherwise, go for the longer one. Now we move on to the side body moldings. Here you can't go wrong because all manner of aftermarket versions are identical. Well, as far as my observation goes. Okay, next is one of the rarest of them all, cause even the Indonesian TRD Rush doesn't come with this, the side skirt garnishes. Well, it's not really that rare cause we already have a very nice aftermarket version of this one. The thing is, people prefer the functional step board instead. Me, I'd rather bring a trusty step stool. Also does the job, but exponentially lighter than a fixed metal board. By the way, this part is a standard on the Daihatsu Terios. Alright, the back door garnish. The stock of this one is just color keyed, but as you can see here, this TRD version's top section is chrome, and the lower part is black. And not just any black, but black chrome, like the front grille of the G variant. I think this is the only part you can DIY, if you know how to properly do chrome finishes. Now we move on to the TRD Sportivo emblem, which as per the OEM set is the cheapest item, and as per aftermarket, the easiest one to find. Take note, remove your variant emblem and replace it with this one. The last part is the rear bumper garnish, and I've mentioned earlier that as a pair with the front bumper garnish, the new aftermarket fiberglass version of this is spot on. By the way, both TRD bumper garnishes overlap the stock silver bumper claddings, thus they need not be removed upon upgrade. Okay, now for some bonus info on another TRD part, which is not included in the list. The TRD Sportivo decals at the sides. Yes, in my previous vid, I mentioned that I have a vector file of this one, and it's as simple as getting it printed/plotted on vinyl. But I decided not to, cause the PHDM TRD Rush, or simply our local version, doesn't come with it. Though this is a standard on the Indonesian TRD Rush, again, they don't have the side skirt garnishes. And as far-fetched as it may seem, I think Toyota's move to replace the side skirt garnishes with a cheap decal for Indonesia is to lower the unit cost and to balance demand. By the way, stickers on the body are just obstacles in cleaning and detailing, subject to natural wear and tearing, and just overall a hassle to maintain. Well, it's okay if it was on glass. Besides, the clean look suits my semi-purist style. And for me, the branding of the bumper garnishes and of course the emblem is more than enough. Alright, remember that I chose a manual for the raw driving experience, and only the E variant offers manual. Thus the downside, initially it's not a 7-seater. But I've already said in my previous vid that I opted for the last/third row of seats, and I went for the split type. So now it's a proper 7-seater. This is still OEM because it was made by an in-house provider in the dealership, therefore sanctioned by Toyota, like some Shark parts. Though of course it differs from the full splitting stock of the G variant. For my fellow E-rushers who are planning to get one, don't worry, it fits like a glove. However, the key differences are, the splits are only for the backrests. It has lap-type seatbelts as opposed to the 3-point stock, and how it is mounted on the floor. Anyway, we'll touch on the acquisition of the unit because right now, the Rush is selling like hotcakes, and the demand is far from meeting the supply, which is imported from Indonesia. I walked in the dealership on the 4th of February, placed an order, plus the full TRD set and the last row seats. And I'm so proud of my marketing professional, Miss Jennifer Amores, cause for my 11-day wait. Yes, just 11 days. She was fervent in updating me on each arriving part in their installations. Then it was ready on the 15th, so I picked it up, drove it home, and uploaded my first video on it, which is the previous vid. Others have been waiting for the release of their units as far as the 3rd quarter of last year. I guess I was just lucky cause the demand was more on the 2-pedal version, the automatic. On a side note, a correction in my previous vid. The PHDM Rush's model code is F800LE and not RE. I think R stands for right-hand drive, and the E is for Toyota, as opposed to G for the Daihatsu Terios. But to make things easier, simply the F800. Anyway, most probably my next vid is gonna be about my first 1000 km PMS. Yes, I'm still within the break-in period, and I highly recommend this vid by Engineering Explained for more info on breaking in your new car. The link is in the description. And that is all there is for now. Thanks for watching. Also, check out other videos from Sabbath Clan Philippines and subscribe. See you on my next vid. Peace out, y'all.